right, I'll start you off with an easy question. How did you start your music career?
I don't know if I started music or it just kind of started for me. You know, as far back as I can remember, I've been singing. I started singing in church as a kid, and I remember my mom telling the story of my grade one teacher telling me that I had a gift in music that they should encourage me to do music. So they always did, and I just gravitated towards it. It was something that I excelled at. Um, so I sang as a kid growing up at talent shows, and there was a local theater here that always had like talent shows and performances in the area for local performers to come and play for audiences, and I always took part in that stuff. And as I got older, it just became something that I became obsessed with almost. I wanted to do music, I wanted to write, and all of that stuff just around 16. I got into this band with a bunch of older dudes, and we played like hall dances and powwows and you name it, anywhere that we in our area within 100 kilometers of Bonneville. I was playing on the weekends, and that suddenly became, oh, I could actually make money at this too. I don't have to work at Fast Gas pumping gas. I could go and play guitar and sing songs and make that same money. So that was it, right there. When those two things connected, it was like, oh, and there'll be girls there. All right, I'm in. 16-year-old me is not much different than 46-year-old me.
Okay, okay. And if you don't mind going through your musical journey, like what bands you played for, how you got there, and that type of thing to lead you to where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a trip, I'll tell you. Um, I started out, like I said, playing in that first band. I went and studied music in Red Deer College for 2 years. So when I graduated at 19, uh, I had a college band called the Moonshine Bandits. We were great friends, but we were a terrible band. But we went out and we were playing nightclubs back then in the mid '90s. You could play 6 nights a week in one nightclub. There was nightclubs everywhere, and they all had bands. And you could go 6 nights a week in each club, and we would do that. We only lasted about 6 months, that band, outside of college, but I continued on. I joined up in another band that was already established that needed a singer, called the Weekend Whiskey Band, and they were a serious. Like again, they were always. I always played in bands that were older than me. Uh, Partly it was because of just my circumstance, because I was so young, uh, but I was very ambitious to learn, and I knew that other kids my age didn't play as good as me, but all these, you know, 30 and 40-year-old dudes could really play, and they knew how to navigate this business that I knew very little about. So I was learning from them and playing, and we played with that band uh, I put out in at least a good year with the Weekend Whiskey Band, touring around all over uh, North America. We were playing nightclubs 6 nights a week. Sunday you drive to the next town, and Monday morning you set up and you play 6 sets a night. So you're playing from 9 o'clock till 2 a.m. every single night. That is your job. You just entertain people. And most of the time, on a Monday night in any bar, there's nobody in there. You're playing to get good at your craft, and you're learning how to entertain people when there's only 5 or 10 people in a bar. And that's what they call cutting your teeth. That's how you get good. Is that repetition, putting in that 10,000 hours. And man, I did that for 7 years. Eventually I started the Clayton Bellamy band. Went out on my own and just started doing that, and started writing songs and mixing those in with all the cover songs throughout the night. And then I moved to Nashville During that time, I spent a year down there just writing songs and making friends. And then I moved back from Nashville to Edmonton, and that's when I got the call to audition for the Roadhammers. That was 2005, and the rest is been history.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember just being a young kid on CMT, and watching music videos and seeing the Road Hammers. I'm like, man, those guys are so cool.
Well, thank you. You know, that was a crazy time because I was about to quit music. I had a baby on the way. I was 27 years old, and I didn't really know that I could make a living in music anymore, and I didn't want to play nightclubs 6 nights a week anymore. I was burned out on it, and that's a heck of a way to try and have a family, and so I didn't want to be on the road that much like that. But then it's funny when you want something so bad and you hold it so tight in your fist. It's almost like you can't it can't grow. You can't have it prosper. But as soon as I let go of that dream and just went, you know what? I just give it to God. And I was like, this isn't mine anymore. We'll just have to see what happens. I don't know where I'm going to end up. And as soon as that happened, it was just like, bam, this thing came into my lap. And it was like, here, you have this audition with this, CCMA award winning, platinum selling artist, Jason McCoy, wants to start a band and he wants you to audition. And I was like, really? Are you sure they got the right guy? But it turned out that Jason's drummer at the time in his band was a good friend of mine, Scott Christensen. And he was telling Jason, look, I have your guy. He had auditioned already over a dozen people for the other singer guitar player in the Roadhammers, but he couldn't find the right guy. And because I had this mutual relationship with his drummer, Jason got my number. He called me. I went and met him, and he gave me this tape of 4 or 5 songs to learn. And I learned them. And when I went into my audition, they were actually filming the CMT show at the time, and they didn't tell me. So I walked in to the audition already nervous because I'd never been in an audition. And then this cameraman throws a camera in my face and puts a mic on my shirt, says, all right, let's see what you got, buddy. I'll tell you what, I was nervous. My hands were shaking. I was sweating. But, we played those 4 songs. I think we played Girl in the Billboard, the original version, and the original version of Eastbound and Down. We played Ramblin' Man by the Allman Brothers, and one more. I can't even remember what it was. But after those 4 songs, the whole time Jason was smiling and playing, and he left the room for a short time. And my buddy Scott was like, hey, man, I think you did okay. This is the first time I've seen him smile in any one of these. So that was a good thing. He came back and offered me the job. And, literally 6 months later, we had a #1 record and we were on the road on a tour bus across Canada. When a year before that, I was giving up music. It's been a 20-year journey now. The band had within 6 months had a #1 TV show on CMT. We had a #1 single and a #1 record that is now platinum. And it's been, it's just been an ongoing journey. We moved to Nashville again a year after that and signed with Sony Montage Records. And the journey just continued. And we're, 6, 7 records deep now and coming up on 20 years as a band.
That's amazing.
It's really, it's incredible. And it's shown me, continually through my career that, just to kind of, if you do good work hard and stay focused and don't try and choke it so much. Just stay focused, but don't, I used to get so wound up about if this thing didn't happen or if that thing didn't happen. And I would just get so, geared up about it. But now I realize that the more I just kind of let go and know that it's going to happen one way or the other, and it's always going to turn out fine.
Right. That's some great words to live by. Do you have any passions besides music? Anything else that you're interested in?
Well, yeah, obviously I've got 2 kids, so I'm very passionate about them. They keep me very, very busy, and now they're getting older, and their dreams are are eclipsing my dreams. You
Oh,
know, I've been a very singularly focused man my whole life. I want to play music and I want to be successful in the art of and the business of making and creating music. That's been my singular focus my whole life. Now my children, you know, when that came into the picture, that changed, that flipped everything upside down. And now, you know, for the first 15 years have just been taking care of them. But now that they're getting older, my son's graduating, my daughter's, you know, going into high school. Their dreams are starting to eclipse my dreams, where it's like I want to be able to help them
hmm.
accomplish what they want to do. So, you know, that's definitely one thing that I'm passionate about. Um, I love to ride motorcycles. I've always been I used to race them when I was a kid, and I'm a very passionate motorcycle rider and enthusiast. And I started a foundation called the Clayton Bellamy Foundation for the Arts, which is helps kids um, uh, grow in the arts, and we have a bursary that gives money for secondary education in the arts, and we're building a new theater here in the Bonnyville area. So I'm very passionate about that. It keeps me very busy with that. And actually, we've based a lot of our building of our new theater on your theater in Leduc
Okay.
at the Mac Lab Theater. We visited it several times and talked with all the good folks there at the Mac Lab, and they've helped us a whole lot on the way to building our theater.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been an incredible ride.
That's awesome. So you think that your kids are gonna start up their own little band, and you're gonna have a whole family band going on?
You know what? In my heart, I would love that. It would be amazing to have a family band. But right now, I don't know. It's a little too early to tell. My son's he's into aviation. He wants to be a pilot,
Oh wow,
and my daughter, she's a great singer, and she actually sings and does drama. She's very interested in that. So we'll see where it goes. Who knows what could happen?
that's great to hear. And are you the only one in your musical background younger? Like when you were younger, were you the only one with the musical background, or did you have any like parents or anything like that that did it that kind of inspired you?
No, my sister sings beautifully. She also had the gift of music, but she didn't choose to really want to pursue it. But on my mom's side of the family, lots of people play guitars and sang. I think that's where the kind of the music came from, was from there. But I didn't have any like direct influence really from that. My uncle was a DJ, and he used to make mixtapes for everyone at Christmas. And that was, if you got a mixtape from George at Christmas, that was better than gold. And and I remember getting those tapes as a kid, and just listening, and I didn't know it at the time because I was so young, but just being groomed on the greatest music that was ever made. You know, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Neil Young and Crosby, Stills, Nash. You know, all of these bands that I didn't really even know what they were at the time. I just would listen to this stuff and go, "Oh, this is cool." I liked it, and I knew I liked it. And he was a big influence on me for sure. And of course, my parents who encouraged me and inspired me with music and taking me to concerts and showing me what the arts was all about.
Right. Are you a songwriter?
100%. Yeah, I've been a songwriter my whole life. I think I was writing songs when I was a little kid, and I didn't even know what was going on. I was just making stuff up. I didn't call it songwriting then. I just called it making stuff up.
And do you have a process when you write your songs?
I think so. I think as a songwriter, um, you always have to have your antennas up for things that people say, little turns of phrase, for ideas that come in your head, whether they're melodies um, or words that people say. Uh, and and I think you also, if you're going to be a songwriter, you have an obligation uh, to expand your mind in the English language. I read lots of poetry and books, trying to always grow in that way. And I think to be a great songwriter, you have to live a great life. You anybody can write a song, can sit down and we got AI right now that can write a song.
Hmm.
But if you want to be able to write a song and deliver it with earnest uh, I think that you need to live a life worth writing about. So I think that, some of my favorite artists, like, Steve Earle, or, Towns Van Zandt, these kind of guys, they were like pirates. They went out and they lived this life that was adventure, and that was, they sought out those stories. And if you really want to be a storyteller, you need to live a life that's worth telling.
Got it. That makes so much sense. Do you have a favorite?
A perfect example. Sorry to interrupt you, but a perfect example is, oh, now I'm going to blank on his name just because I wanted to tell you. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Great,
Oh yeah.
great writer, and is also a reporter. Oh, dang it! What's his name? You're going to have to edit this out. Uh, oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, he was a writer and uh, a bit of a pirate, and lived that life. He lived those stories that he wrote in his books. Those were extensions of him. And now it's gonna kill me. Now I gotta do this. I gotta look it up because I'm never gonna be able to live it down.
No, that makes sense. But you're right. Like the most authentic songs you can write are ones of your own story.
That's right. If you want to be Hunter S. Thompson, jeez, it was killing me. You know, there's authenticity. If you want to talk about, being an authentic writer, there's a difference between someone who can write, who's effective at writing a good pop song, and then there's somebody who can tell a story
Hmm.
and be authentic in the storytelling of it. And there are differences there in those kinds of writers. They're both great. I'm not, poo pooing on either one.
Hmm.
But for me personally, I want to be able to, obviously, I want to have hit songs, but I want to be able to write and tell stories that are authentic and that hit people right between the ribs, right in the heart.
No, I agree with you, and I'm not going to diss any music. But if, for example, country music, if you look back in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, there's a little more storytelling than there is nowadays. I'm not saying like the artists or songs are bad nowadays. I'm just saying that back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you see more storytelling.
I agree, and I think that that's coming back when you see people like Coulter Wall and Chris Stapleton
Oh,
and this kind of ilk of writers and musicians coming back. That's starting to make a turn, and it does. Every music is cyclical.
yeah,
It does that all the time because people can only get into talking about girls and beer and tailgates and trucks and driving down. That kind of stuff is very stock. That's the thing that I was saying about, um, you know, about being able to write a song. Like,
hmm,
here's your box, and you check all the marks. There's, of what a stand with the 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 things, the pieces you need to build a song. And if you do all those things, you can write a song.
hmm,
But is it going to hit like when Chris Stapleton sings "Cry," or when Steve Earle sings "It Doesn't Get Any Lonelier Than This"?
yeah,
Those songs don't come from that formula. Those songs come from right here, right down in your gut, and those songs come from pain. They come from real life, and that's when people relate to them and grab onto them. And you hear these artists, and you go, "Well, I've never heard of him. Why is he? I've not heard him on the radio. How does he have you know a gazillion spins on this song?" That's because when people hear that song, they immediately connect to it, and then they tell their friends and share it. And that's nowadays, that's the only currency that exists, is word of mouth, and that's why they grow, because it comes from a different place.
right. So, do you have a favorite song you wrote or like to sing?
I think the latest song I've written is always my favorite song. But you know I don't know that I have a favorite song right now. We've been playing this song called Annie lately off of the the Roadhammer's Wheels record
Yeah.
live, and we've never played it live. And I think that right now that's probably one of my favorite ones to sing and play. It's a super cool tune that we wrote years ago, myself and Jason and Chris Byrne.
Awesome. And when you're performing, do you do anything like a pre-ritual thing or anything before or after you perform?
Uh, yeah, now more than ever, warming up, you know, like warming up my voice, warming up my body, stretching, getting ready to go out and do something that's very physical for 2 hours straight. You got to warm up, and if you don't, you always pay the price, either during the show or after. So yeah, there is a ritual for sure of kind of and going over sitting with the band. It's easy to get distracted in those environments because for everybody else, it's a party. It's exciting. They're there to have fun and do this thing. But for us, it's our job. And if we don't focus and stay focused on what we're about to go out and do, then it's not going to be good. Or it might be good, but it won't be great.
Right. And what's it like to perform on stage for you? Like, do you get nervous even nowadays, or is it just full on adrenaline? What's it like?
I mean, it's exciting. It's always exciting. I don't know that I necessarily get nervous anymore. The only times that I really get nervous is if I'm doing like TV performances are always nerve wracking because there's no room for error. When you're on your live TV, um, you know, um, and those kind of instances are always a little more. Or singing the national anthem that never stops being nerve wracking because it's the one song you never want to mess up.
Okay. Do you have a favorite venue or place you performed at?
Well, I think for me, the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville
Mhm.
was probably the the most important venue that I've ever played at. That's like the Carnegie Hall of country music, and when you start out as an artist, there's always these, when you're a kid, there's these places in your mind of like, man, one day I'd love to play whatever that is. And
Mhm.
for me, that was one of them. And I started out as a kid in my hometown of Bonneville. They had a thing called the Bonneville Grand Old Opry, or and it was just kind of a take on the original Opry, where people would come up and sing country songs, and and so I learned about it at a very young age, and then getting to perform on that stage, and we got a standing ovation the first night we played. We did our tribute to Jerry Reed, who had just passed away, and we closed our set with Eastbound and Down, and everybody stood up cheering, and I got down on the stage and kissed the stage, and we walked off, and Loretta Lynn was standing there clapping, and you know uh, all of these legends of country music were there. Little Jimmy Dickens, um, and the head of the Grand Ole Opry shook our hands, and he said, what an amazing job. Can you guys come back tomorrow night? Would you come back again?" And we're like, "What? When does that happen?" "Yes, absolutely." And so the next night we came back, we played 2 nights in a row at the Grand Ole Opry.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, it really was.
And that's probably a big place to play at. But is there a dream place you want to perform at? Some place that you haven't yet that has always been on your radar, or you think you pretty much
Uh,
accomplished everything?
no, I'd love to play the Ryman. We had a chance to play the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville years ago, and it didn't come to fruition. There was conflicts with schedules, so we didn't get to play that. So I'd love to go back and play the Ryman. I would love to play Carnegie Hall in London. There's some big some places that that uh, the Fillmore in where the Fillmore Theater, where the Allman Brothers recorded live at the Fillmore. That a theater like that, I would love to play. So there are still those kind of epic shows in my mind that the Beacon, these kind of places that I would love to be a part of playing.
Right. And what do you enjoy? touring. Is that something that you like to do, or you get kind of tired of it, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it comes in waves. Touring is hard work. You know, it can be exhausting. So, but I never get tired of playing live. I love it, and I think I always will. The touring part is you know, it's physically difficult, and it's um, you know, that's the part you get paid for, really.
Hmm.
The music and the playing live you do for free because you love it. But the touring part, the the no sleep, the driving for hours, flying and travel and all of that stuff is that's the hard work part. But it's still great. It's always an adventure, and you never know what's going to happen, who you're going to meet, and what you're going to see.
Okay. Is there anything you do differently or change in your music career, or are you happy with what you've accomplished?
I don't like to should on myself.
Mm,
I should have done this and should have done that. I think that especially knowing how the story for me has panned out so far, um, I think everything happens for a reason and is going to unfold the way it's going to unfold, whether you try and strangle it as hard as you can or whether you just let go and let God. So, uh, no, I'm very grateful for the way things have unfolded thus far. And, now I'm living in my hometown of Bonneville. I play in three different bands and I write songs for a living and I'm very happy the way things have played out. So, and who knows where it's going to go from here.
right. That's a good answer. Do you have any idols or people that you kind of like growing up for music? I mean, like anybody that kind of you listen to and like, I want to do what they do. Was there anyone that had that kind of moment with you?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I had a few growing up. I wanted to be Steve Earle for the longest time. Loved Steve Earle, just the way he wrote songs and um, and how he was so passionate and how he delivered his music, and the way it sounded. It sounded so authentic, um, and it was so cool that I got to, I over the years have gotten to know Steve, become uh, friends with him and his family and his brother and his sister and it's been really cool, that journey about, again, how things unfold.
Right,
uh and another one was the Black Crows that I always loved. I love that mix of rock and roll and gospel music, and that's a lot of where my band the Congregation has kind of come in, where it's a lot more of that. It's a lot more hard rock and gospel and kind of mixed in together. And I just have always loved that. I've always gravitated to it.
right. Um, what's one of the most things what are some things that you're thankful for in your life?
Oh man, I have how much time do you got? there, there's there's so much that I have to be grateful for. My family and my health and my kids. There's the list goes on and on. Music is very low on the totem pole of things that I'm grateful for in reality, because without all those other things I wouldn't be able to even do music. So um, but when it comes to playing music, I'm definitely grateful for the opportunities that I've had and for the friends that I've made along the way. My bandmates. Um, like you said, it can be hard when you're out on the road, especially for long stretches, months at a time. You don't really have family around you. You don't have your loved ones, your kids, your wife, or whatever. So you have these guys that you play in a band with every single night that you share hours and hours and hours on the road with. So you become like brothers, and I'm definitely grateful for them. They hold you together for sure and keep you, if they're good brothers, they keep you on the path too, not getting too sideways.
Okay, that makes sense. That's awesome and a good answer as well. Uh, is there anything you wish people knew about you that they don't know?
Um, I have to have the TV on when I go to sleep. No, I don't know. Nowadays I've always been a pretty open book,
Mhm.
and especially nowadays with social media and stuff that people can they can kind of get a good inside look at at people's lives and stuff. One thing that maybe people don't know that I wish they did know is that all of this stuff. Like if you're, for instance, if you're an aspiring musician or an artist, all of this thing, it doesn't just happen.
Mhm.
It's like building bricks in a wall. I think that nowadays people are just like, hey, I'm going to be TikTok famous. I'm going to win this singing contest and I'm going to be an artist. And being a true artist doesn't happen like that. It's like you're like a bricklayer. You're out there every day laying bricks in a wall
Mhm.
that create your career. And if you do that properly, then if somebody ever comes along and pulls a brick out from under you, you have a failure. Well, hey, you only go down that one brick.
Right.
You still got this wall that you've been building your whole life, and you can continue building back up. If you just become TikTok famous and you're right here, you're just standing on one brick, baby. And as soon as that brick gets pulled out, guess where you're going?
Yeah.
Right back down here. So just just take your time and build those bricks and learn from other people and always be open to to working with people and learning and have a plan. I've got whiteboards all over my house, and and there's things written on them because very I'm a very visual person to begin with, but always having things written out of what I want to do and what I want to accomplish that year, it's planned out. And if I look on that board every day, and if I haven't done anything on that board that day, well, the next day I got to do two things to get closer to the goal. What is the goal? Well, if I want to, have a hit record, for instance, or if I want to make $1 million or whatever your plan is, if you want to be a journalist, well, you better write journalist at the top, and you better have a bunch of different things like a tree written down of all of the things that you want to do in your day to get closer to that goal of being a journalist. And then guess what? Trust me, you will look back at the end of the year and you'll go, oh, look at all of these things that I accomplished, and I'm that much closer to my goal, and you will get there. But when you write it down, it becomes a reality and not just a dream anymore.
Right. And that was such a good analogy with the bricklaying, that foundation. That's words to live by right there. Um, so you said you're in three bands, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, do you have merch for each band? Like, does each band have individual merch?
Two out of the three do right now. Yeah. The Roadhammers obviously have merch, and the Congregation has all kinds of stuff. Both of them you can get online or you can get at a live show, which is always more fun.
Right. And do you have any merch of like just of yourself solo or no?
Yeah, well, I've got solo records and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I used to have t-shirts and stuff like that, but now it's more just between the two bands
Oh,
that I'm promoting. It usually depends on you know what thing that I'm doing at each particular time. So right now, the Congregation has been my focus. We got a new record that's just about to be released here this spring. Um, and so that's we got lots of merch for that. But if I do a Clayton Bellamy record, well, then there'll be a whole bunch of Clayton Bellamy merch and that kind of stuff.
okay, that makes sense. And kind of last fun question here. Do you have a favorite guitar in the back or no?
Oh man, well, each one of these has got a great story, that's for
Mhm.
sure. This one is one of my favorites here. This is a 1972 Les Paul Deluxe, and it was actually found by my friend Gordy Johnson of Big Sugar. He found it at Austin Vintage in Austin, Texas, where he lives. Um, and so crazy when your heroes become your friends. But I grew up listening to Big Sugar, and I just like loved that band for so many years, and went and used to travel all over as when I was younger to go and see them. And now Gordy and I become great friends. We played in bands together, written songs on each other's records, and it's been super rad to be able to become a close friend of his. And yeah, so this guitar is got a great story and it sounds amazing. And yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Awesome. And since we're nearing the interview here, with our last like minute or two, is there anyone you'd like to shout out or promote before we go?
I just if there's anything, if people are interested in the music, most importantly, they can find it on Spotify at the Congregation Music or the Road Hammers. They can follow me online wherever, anywhere, TikTok or Instagram or any of those things, at Clayton Bellamy. And I just encourage people to support live music. If you get out and you really love a band, go and see them or tell your friends, because like I said, the only currency nowadays is word of mouth. People trust what their friends tell them. So if you like something, tell your friends, share it, and support artists, because nowadays it's tougher than ever to be an artist, with just the way of the world. So they need your support.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do an interview with me. And I'm a little bit starstruck still because I'm talking to the Clayton Bellamy in my eyes. And I just want to thank you so much again.
Well, Dylan, I appreciate it. It's great to meet you. I hope to see you next Friday. I'm playing a show at the Aviary for Juno Fest in Edmonton. So tell your friends, give me a reshare, or bring your crew down, and let's meet in person, and you can check out some of the new music.
Sounds good. It was great talking to you.
All right, take care.
Bye.